This is Dom from Blacktoad Studios, and today we've got a grudge match. It's the first time I get to play my sister-in-law on camera. Vicky has come up, brought her Crimson Fists, and today they're going to be battling against my Necrons on this battlefield. So before we have a look at the armies, we're just going to go through the quick mission and narrative of this game. So on this planet here, it was a covert Imperial research facility. Unfortunately though, the Necrons have arisen from the Todak dynasty and started to crusade across this planet. In each one of these four buildings here, so we have this building here, this building here, moving along. We then have the bunker down here and the bastion there. There is relics of a bygone era. The Necrons have to retake them and the Crimson Fists have to defend them and prevent them falling into Xeno hands. So for each turn they're held, you will gain 5 points. So let's see what we can do against the filthy Crimson Fists. So let's have a look at the armies. Right, so here we are. Here's my 2,000 points of Necrons. So quite a large lot here. It's actually more surprising once you get it on the battlefield. So I've gone with a battalion and an outrider detachment. So straight away I'm on to 9 command points rather than 12. So we're going to start over here with part of the outrider. So we've got 6 basic wraiths, nothing going on there. We've got 2 tomb sentinels at the back there. We've got a base, 3 bases of scarabs. Moving over here, we have got 3 squads of 10 immortals, all with Tesla carbines. We have got a technomancer here. We then next to him have our warlord. So it's the overlord with a resurrection orb, veil of darkness as his relic, and implacable conqueror as his warlord trait. Behind there we have got a royal warden sitting happily amongst the troops. We've got 20 warriors there with Gauss Reapers. We then have a Skorpek lord here, 3 destroyers, and 5 death marks there. So quite a nice force. I've seen Vicky's force already, so it's going to be a lot of stuff on the battlefield. It's very exciting. So without further ado, let's have a quick look at the Crimson Fists. Right, so next up we've got Vicky's Crimson Fists. Yeah, there's a lot of them here. As I said, there's a lot of bodies on the board today. And I'm going to try and remember exactly what Vicky's got. My Space Marine expertise is somewhat limited, except for their filthy Imperials. So we've got a spearhead detachment over here with 3 predators, 2 of which are the Annihilators, with the twin las cannon on top and las cannons on the sponsons. We then have a Destructor, yes, got it, with the heavy voltage sponsons and the autocannon turret. We have a lieutenant down here with a standard bolt rifle. We then move along to the battalion, and we have got Pedro Cantor, classically there. So exactly how he is at the Codex. We then have a librarian in Terminator armour. We have some Stalk Rifle Primaris at the back there, with a Power Fist on the Sergeant.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Then here we've got some standard intercessors. We don't have the Power Sword on there. Vicky's saying you can't have it anymore, which is a bit of a shame. We have a squad of Eliminators here. We then have a squad of 10 standard Gem 1 Marines at the back here, with a missile launcher and a flamer, and of course a Power Fist there. Why not? We have got a squad of 3 Outriders. Vicky has just painted these ones up, looking very nice. Just waiting for the transfers. We have a Rhino at the back there. And finally, we have the Dreadnought there with the Gatler. So that is Vicky's 2,000 points. Said she's got 2 detachments, so she's lost 3 command points. So we are on 9 each. Very nice. I'm looking forward to this. Right, so let's get straight to deployment. Right, so both sides have now deployed on this battlefield. You can definitely see the Crimson Fists. Necrons, however, kind of merging in with like the rusty gantries and walkways. So we'll start with the Necrons at the moment. So you see here, we've got the objective markers have gone down. So to capture these objectives, you've got to be within 3 inches of that marker there. Each turn you'll be gaining 5 points for holding one of those. So on the landing pad start, we've got 10 Tesla Immortals. We've got the Wraiths right down here on the flank. Underneath we've got the Scorpec Lord, and we have the Destroyers. Got the Scarabs hiding away down there. Moving along to the centre, however, we have the 20 Necron Warriors, the Overlord, the Technomancer, and the Royal Warden down here with the troops. Looking quite nice down there. And we've got another squad of 10 Immortals there next to this one here. In reserve, we do have the 2 Sentinels and Deathmarks. They will be appearing at some point throughout the game. Let's go and have a look at what Vicky's deployed over here. So like I said, this is the first game on camera against Vicky. Once I win this game, I'm accepted into the family. Might have been a few years, but yeah, no, I'm definitely in after this. And there we go. So down here we have got a very armoured contingent here. So we've got the Predator there, Rhino. We've got a squad down here with a HQ kind of retinue lurking around right next to this bastion with the objective. So Vicky's forces just have to be in base contact with that bastion. It can be on either level, but they have to be there. We're scoring points from the second turn, however. We then have another Predator. We've got Dreadnought, another Predator behind this silo here. So across the field you can see the Necron forces there lurking around in the dark. We've got another squad of Crimson Fists here. Over here we have the Eliminators currently up in this bastion. Nice point of fire down across the battlefield. Very good line of sight there. And down behind there we've got the Outriders in a very defensive position at the moment because we're not sure who's going first. Although in a mere few seconds we're definitely going to find out. So Vicky, would you like to do the honours of rolling a dice?
Love to. Oh yes.
No. Well, that's not a good sign, is it? Right, let's see the toad. Oh no. So straight over to Crimson Fists, turn 1. So turn 1 for the Crimson Fists. Over here the Outriders are just poured out from behind that bastion, zooming towards this bunker here, ready to take it for the Emperor. Across the field, however, a bit of a reshuffle for the Crimson Fists, but no massive moves at the moment. So the Rhino with the Tactical Marines have just charged forwards towards the Necron lines there. These Primaris have climbed up onto the bastion to hold it from there, so they've got a good point of view, fire. Dreadnought here just moved forwards as well, but it's just shuffled along slightly just to get a good line of sight. So of course the Crimson Fists are now in Devastator Doctrine, so it could get painful in a moment. Let's move into turn 1, Psychic and Shooting for the Crimson Fists. Right, so starting the shooting phase, Vicky is going to fire this Predator through clear line of sight into this poor old squad of Wraiths. Now let's see what she can do, if she can do anything. Right, okay, so to hit, Vicky needs some freeze here, firing 4 las cannon shots. Oh, here we go. Oh, so it's 2 hits so far. So strength 9, so she needs freeze to wound. Oh, nothing! Right, so after that disaster, Vicky's then firing the second Predator into the same target there. Although she won't get the reroll to the Lieutenant, she can still do this. Come on, Vicky, I believe in you.
Come on, Crimson Fists. Let's go.
Okay, so that's 3 hits. That's pretty good. And freeze to wound. Oh, nice, there we go. Right, so we've got some 4 up and vulnerable saves coming up. Oh, okay, 2 fails. So Vix, you want to roll the first one? See how much damage?
Yep.
Oh, 4, so it's enough to kill 1 off. And then another d6 damage. 6, oh my goodness, that's 2 Wraiths down. Right, okay, let's see what else Vix can do in the shooting phase. So fueled on from her success of taking out 2 Wraiths, Vicky's now firing this Predator into the poor old Wraiths. 2 have already fallen, there's 4 left. Let's see if she can do anything about it. So Vix, you're going to fire your autocannon first. That's 2d3 shots. Okay, so that's 4 shots. Let's fire that first. Freeze to hit. Ooh, okay, nice. And you need freeze to wound. Okay, 2. Okay, so here we go. 4 up and vulnerable save. Okay, so 1 got through. Is it 2 damage?
It is. Special autocannon, -1 free damage.
Oh, right, okay, well that's not good. And then you want to fire the heavy bolters as well.
Need some more dice.
Need some more dice, yeah, geez, a lot of firepower for these predators coming in. Okay, so that's not too bad for me. You've got to roll 1 more dice, Vic. I think you only rolled 5 there, so just roll 1 more. So we've got 2 hits so far. Oh, there we go as well. Oh, great, a meta dice. Oh dear. Right, okay, and then we need. So that's 2 wounds. 2 more saves. Okay, so it's another 2 damage to another wraith there. So yeah, fair bit of damage. Well done. So that's 5 wounds overall. Nice. Okay, let's find out what the rest of the Crimson Fists did. Right, so the end of turn 1 psychic and shooting for the Crimson Fists. And after reanimation, 1 of the wraiths came back here, so 2 wraiths have gone out and 1's on 1 wound. They took a bit of damage up here where 2 of the immortals were shot down from fire coming in from both the dreadnought down there and the squad up in this tower here. Just fire kind of ripping into these guys. They did pretty well. Unfortunately 2 didn't come back. Down here, the immortals here suffered some casualties. Well, they suffered 1 casualty from the stalk rifles from across here, which came in, bouncing into these immortals and killed 1 there. And then we had the outriders and the eliminators firing into this squad down here. So taking a couple of out of that squad. Reanimation did kind of help a little bit, but they did suffer casualties nonetheless. So that's it for Crimson Fist in turn 1, unless Vicky wants to try a charge anywhere.
No, I'm good.
No, she's good. So we're going to move straight into turn 1 for the Necrons. Right, turn 1 movement for the Necron forces of the Todek dynasty. So we've put in the Protocol of the Eternal Guardian, Directive 1, which essentially has given some of my guys the benefit of light cover. But most of the stuff's moved anyway. So these immortals up here, we're already benefiting from that because they're in the defensive things. They get +1 to their armor save. Down here, the destroyers and the Lord advance forwards out of the drop pad there. These wraiths have moved forwards as well, so this one's regained 1 wound because of living metal. Scarabs moving forward there, just behind that container for now. The warriors, with the benefit of the Overlord, have moved up there. There's been no advances here, just a general move forward so they can all shoot nicely. Down here, these guys have just pushed up a little bit, so get some better shots off towards the Outriders, and the Royal Warden has come around there to get a shot off there. Being very aware that the Eliminator's up in that tower, he's just keeping back because a Royal Warden against those Eliminators really wouldn't go very well for him. So that's all the movement. We're going to move into shooting turn 1 for the Necrons. Right, so shooting turn 1 for the Necrons. So the Immortals here fired off their Tesla shots towards the Intercessors here. We didn't kill anyone, we caused 1 wound there. The Warriors over here fired their Gauss Reapers into the Dreadnought there, doing a bit of damage. So that's not too bad. However, the squad over here with the Tesla carbines, we used Talent for Annihilation on them. We fired in here. Vicky used a transhuman physiology. So 1 got killed through the mortal wounds handed out through Talent for Annihilation, and 1 lost a wound there. Down here, these Immortals opened fire, firing shots in there and taking out 1 of the Outriders there. So it's not a great deal of damage at this point, although Necrons are more of a mid-range army in my opinion. So that's that. We're going to attempt to charge with this squad of Wraiths into the Rhino, see if we can make that and do a bit of damage. So let's move straight into turn 1, Assault for Necrons. Right, turn 1, Assault. Naturally the Wraiths got in there, only a 6-inch charge. So we got into the Rhino, lots of attacks, nothing wounded unfortunately. So there you go, Rhino hit back. I was kind of dreading it because, well, oh no, if Vicky gets this, it means her Rhino's outdone my Wraiths. So yeah, let's just stuck in combat for now. And that is the end of turn 1 from Necrons. So let's move straight into turn 2 for the Crimson Fists. Right, start of turn 2 for the Crimson Fists. And naturally Vicky's pulled this rhino out here to open up the wraiths to some potential pain coming in there. Dreadnought still stumbling forwards after taking a bit of a battering from the warriors. He's just moving forwards towards the objective here. Kanto and his retinue are moving up around the bunker here. The rest of the Marines have now climbed inside the bunker. We move across the battlefield and we'll see a couple more small changes, which is quite good for a Crimson Fist army to be on the move constantly. Down here, the Outriders now charge towards the bunker after taking casualties. They have now come in to finish up the job. And the Stalkers down here, just moving out of line of sight slightly, but still getting a nice bead of down onto the Necron forces. So we go now into turn 2, psychic and shooting for the Crimson Fists. Right, end of turn 2 shooting and psychic for the Crimson Fists. So Librarian started off over here with casting a smite into the wraiths, killing off one of the wraiths. Another one was then killed in the shooting phase from Predators, who really don't like him. The Librarian also cast Psychic Fortress on this squad here, just to make sure they're able to do stuff and protect themselves as they're on the objective. This squad also fired into the Immortals up here. It was joined also by the Dreadnought down here, which fired as well, causing, I think, 4 went down, and 3 got back up at the end of that, so it's quite handy. The characters down here were firing into the destroyers here, took 2 wounds off off one of them, and yeah, really they kind of just held their own over here. A couple of light casualties for the Immortals. The Wraiths did suffer a little bit worse with taking 2 of them down. Fire came in from across the field with the Stalkers by that container over there. They came in, firing into the Immortals, but caused no damage at all there. However, the squad down here took fire from the Outriders. Now they're in rapid fire. Oh, that was a lot of firepower coming in from these guys here. So taking that squad down to 5. A couple came back for reanimation. Also, the Eliminators as well fired down and equally did some damage there. Just so you know, we use reanimation on this squad up here and just to keep them back in the game. So that is the end of turn 2 shooting. I'm sure Vicky's going to try some charges. So let's move into turn 2 assault for the Crimson Fists. Okay, so coming into the charge phase, Vicky has decided Outriders need to charge in to take this Necron held position here. So wisely, I think, I've decided to Overwatch with these guys. So that's one command point. I'm also using Talent for Annihilation, which is a Mefrit dynasty. It essentially means every 6 deals out a mortal wound to a maximum of 3. So let's see if I can hit any of these on their charge in. It is a 6-inch charge as well, so it's pretty safe. You could probably make it. Let's see if I can Overwatch anyone to death. Okay, so rolling to hit. Any 6s here, so we cause 1 mortal wound, and of course with being Tesla, we've got 2 more there. Okay, let's see if we can actually wound on a 5. So we've got 1 wound, which has got an AP of -1, also being Mefrit, so within half range. So Vicky, you need to free up. There you go. Yes. Okay, so we've done 1 mortal wound, and now we're going to accept the charge of 6 inches. Can you roll it, Vicky?
Come on. Nice.
Oh, she did as well. Right, okay, let's move straight into assault. So Vicky's starting here. She's got 9 attacks for those 2 coming in against the Necron Warriors. So it's a 3 up to hit. Oh, there's a lot of fumbling. Might have backfired. Okay, and then we need some 5s to win, so toughness 5. Oh my goodness.
That's awful.
Right, okay, so not good there. We're going to move on to the fight back and see if we can do anything in return. So coming back at the Outriders, we've got 5 Immortals there. So we're hitting on 3s. Okay, so there's a few here. And then we're going to also be wounding on 5s, which will be a little bit of a challenge. However, it can't be any worse than her attempt to hurt Immortals. So we've got 5 there. So Vicky, can we have 5 saves? Oh no, sorry, my bad. 3 saves, because we're toughness 4, your strength, your toughness 5. So 3 saves, please. No AP. Hopefully we'll kill 1. Oh no! And one of the Outriders has fallen. Also, the only other attempted charge was the Dreadnought here being very brave with a 12-inch charge into these destroyers here. However, it didn't happen, unfortunately. It's worth a shot though. So at the end of that, the Outriders are still there on the objective. However, they're not contesting it because the Immortals are troops. So we're going to move in now to turn 2 for the Necrons. Turn 2 movement for the Necrons. And the Wraiths down here have pushed up, trying to engage this Predator in combat, just to tie it up for a little while. The Canoptic Sentinels have turned up. This one here just popped up behind, just 9 inches away from there, but also within range of this Predator here. So it's got a nice varied targets you can shoot at. The Destroyers and Destroyer Lord are coming up against this Dreadnought. Down here, the other Canoptic Sentinels come up with the Scarabs there. The Warriors are just plodding through the industrial ruins here. We've used my will be done on them from the Overlord there. Mortals coming up as well, just behind this barricade, getting some more shots off towards the Stalkers there. The death marks have appeared now on these gantries here, so they've got a good field of view. They can fire down on a lot of targets, so they can fire down far off into the Eliminators to give the snipers a run for their money. They can fire off into the Stalkers, they can fire off even towards the command retinue of the Crimson Fists. Down here we have got the Immortals, which have fallen out of combat. However, they have used a Royal Warden there, so they will be eligible to shoot and charge if need be against this Outrider here. So there's a lot of stuff that could happen, but we really need the dice to be in our favour. So we're going to move into shooting for the Necrons. Turn 2. Turn 2 shooting for the Necrons. So down here, both our new Canoptic creatures have appeared, firing both at Predators across, and did nothing at all. This one hit, got a couple of shots, hit and didn't wound. We used a reroll and it got worse. This one, however, got one shot and missed. Typical. Down here, these Immortals fired their Tesla weapons with a talent for annihilation again into this squad here. 3 Primaris fell to that volley of fire. One already having a bit of damage. 3 mortal wounds came in through talent of annihilation, and just the volume of fire was pretty huge. The Warriors down here, a lot of them have been able to put a bead onto this Dreadnought, taking him down to 10 wounds. Yeah. Immortals as well fired volleys of shots once more into this squad here, doing 1 wound onto that squad. The death marks showed off their marksman skills and fired off into the Eliminators here, killing 1 off with a mortal wound, and a couple other little bits of damage came in. And down here, the Immortals with the Royal Warden finally finished off the last Outrider. So they are just holding the objective for now. They're taking a lot of damage, but they are holding out. So that's it for our shooting. We're going to try and do a bit of damage in the assault phase. So let's move into turn 2 assault for the Necrons. End of turn 2 assault for the Necrons. So over here, the Wraiths charged into both these units, the Predator and the Rhino, tying both of those up. However, the attacks, nothing happened on either side there. The Scorpeg Destroyers and the Sentinel charged into the Dreadnought there, taking him down to 4 wounds. The Dreadnought fought back, interrupted and went up against this guy after the Destroyers attacked. Hit 3 times, wounded 3 times, luckily passed 2 of the armor saves and failed 1, which then did 5 damage to him. Ouch, that really hurt. So that's that. We're going to move into turn 3 for the Crimson Fists. There still hasn't been a break. The points look like they're going to be the same, so it's 10 apiece. Let's move into turn 3 for the Crimson Fists. Turn 3 for the Crimson Fists. Down here, you see the Dreadnought has remained in combat. However, the command retinue here is now moving up to engage the Destroyers and hopefully free up their ancient brother. Over here, both tanks have fallen out of combat with the Wraiths there. Across the field, we will find that although the Outriders have been defeated and the Necron Immortals that were holding this bunker have remained, pretty much secured themselves, unfortunately the Stalkers over here have now moved round, and Vicky very nicely mentioned that they have got a line of sight down into the Immortals there. So a great little tactical decision there by the Crimson Fists. And these guys remain up here still, probably taking fire from the death marks, maybe kind of taking notes on how to be a good sniper. That's it. So we're going to move in now to turn 3 psychic and shooting for the Crimson Fists. Right, so coming into turn 3 shooting, Vix has got her stalkers there. They're going to put some fire down in here. So because they moved, they've got 1 shot and they're hitting on 4s. So this could be interesting to see if they actually kill off these Immortals, because they're quite happily holding this bunker at the moment. Vicky is looking intensely at the models.
Oh, I was thinking only 7 can see.
Okay, so 7 shots then. That's what we like. Honesty. 7 shots. Here we go. Oh, that's not too bad. That's 5
6s.
Yeah, that's 5 hits there.
So I get an extra.
And an extra 1, yep, because of the 6. Right, and toughness 5. So we need 5s to wound. Oh no! Look at that failures! The failures! Sad times. Right, okay, that's a bit of a shame. We're going to move on to the rest of the shooting. Poor Vicky. Right, okay, so Vix's next squad here, they're going to be firing straight into these wraiths to try and get them away from the Crimson Fist line. So, Vicky, go for it, 14 shots. You've got your Chapter Master, he's...
Reroll all misses.
Yeah, looking after this squad, old Cantor.
Now.
Okay, still a couple of 1s and 2s there. Right, so after this we need 5.
I just got to add the 6s because I get the extra shots.
Of course.
So that's an extra 3 shots automatically.
Oh!
So they're all back in.
Pesky Crimson Fists. Right, okay, so they're going to need 5s to wound. Roll away. Okay,
So reroll the 1s because the lieutenant's there.
Yep, lieutenant's at about. Oh, that's another 1. So we've got a few there. What's that? 5, 7?
Misses.
1 more. That's 8. 8 invulnerable saves. Here we go. We can do this. That's 4. Roll this twice. So 1's dead. And the other one survived. Okay, so yeah, that's not too great, but never mind. That's what it is. Let's have a bit of a recap on the rest of the shooting. Right, so a bit of a recap now for the rest of turn 3 shooting and psychic. So Librarian here tried to cast a couple of psychic powers. However, the Sentinels, which were one's here and the other one, denied the psychic attempts to do anything there, which was quite handy. As you saw, these guys up in the building fired off down here, killing 1 and reducing 1 to 1 wound. The command retinue have been firing off bolters left, right and centre. The 2 predators finished off the Sentinel, which was down here, with volleys of las cannon fire just kind of ripping into them. Moving along here, we had the Eliminators as well as the Marines there firing off down here and did a couple of wounds, so we just got a roll for reanimation for them. But except for that, not a grand amount of damage. However, it was kind of all over the place. So people have suffered. I think the pain is really going to come in Assault. So let's move straight into turn 3 Assault. Turn 3 Assault for the Crimson Fists. So Cantor led the Lieutenant and the Librarian into charge against the Destroyers there to try and relieve the Dreadnought. However, it didn't really pay off. Cantor did nothing whatsoever, and the Destroyers saw a bit of a gap and then did a counter-attack, doing some more damage against the Dreadnought there. This reduced it down to 2 wounds. However, that was also from the Sentinel, did 1 wound there. Dreadnought hit back, now hitting on 5s, nothing, all misses. And all these guys, same again really, although 1 Destroyer was killed. This fight is just brutal in the centre. No one's really doing anything, but at some point it's suddenly going to tip and it'll be very decisive where that's going. Potentially because of this guy. But that's it. We're going to move into turn 3 for the Necrons. Turn 3 for the Necrons of the Tolek dynasty. So Immortals have remained stationary up here. Destroyer Lord is moving up towards Cantor there, challenging him, seeing if he's man enough to come down and fight and face him. We'll find out. Scarabs now coming around the back there. They're going to hopefully cause a bit of chaos. Across here, the warriors are still slowly marching through the centre. Haven't drawn any fire yet, but those reapers are going to come in pretty brutally in a moment. Immortals coming up here, perhaps towards the stalkers over there. Down here, these immortals are now tucked behind the bunker for a bit of protection, because those bolters keep coming in. It's pretty brutal. The Royal Warden, however, is covering their retreat and is going to fire a couple of shots down the field towards the stalkers. We'll see how that goes. So that is that. Let's move into shooting. And psychic? Turn 3. Turn 3 shooting for the Necrons. So these immortals, once again, pumped out 14 shots over into the Marines up here, killing one off. However, the Lord down here fired back up here, killing 2 Primaris off, and one of the warriors down here fired, killing off another one. So they're taking casualties now. Necrons have got in range with their more powerful guns, and they're just kind of hammering into the Marines. The remaining part of that Necron warrior squad, which has got a huge blob, fired into this Predator, taking that down to 3 wounds. Death marks fired again into the Bastion from their point of fire here, causing 1 wound on the Eliminators, and then the Tesla fire just ripped up into this tower here and finished that squad off. So they have now been knocked off that objective. And that is it for our shooting. So it's been pretty good. We're going to move into assault, and hopefully we can put a bit more of a dent into the Crimson Fists. Let's find out. Right, so at the end of turn 3 assault for the Necrons, it got pretty bloody down here, guys. The Destroyer Lord charged into Cantor, easily decapitating him with his Harvester Sword there. The Dreadnought finished off the Centipede. The Sentinel has fallen. Scarabs did nothing against him. However, the remaining destroyers there got in there and finished him off. One of the destroyers was killed by the Librarian, though, in a revenge attack for losing their Chapter Master. And the Lieutenant is still battling alongside him. So it carries on in the middle. Like I said previously, the changes have happened here and its tides have turned. The Crimson Fists are on the back foot slightly. However, we are now going to turn 4 for the Crimson Fists, and it could all change. Turn 4 for the Crimson Fists. So the scores currently are 30 to the Necrons, 25 to the Crimson Fists. So they're really on the push now, the Crimson Fists, to narrow the gap. The Rhinos moved up here, but just beforehand it had dropped its cargo of tactical marines off here to deal with the Wraith and maybe put some fire into the Scorpec Lord there. Marines remained in the bunker there, the characters are there, tanks have remained stationary. However, the Stalkers have moved across this no man's land. I mean, originally they were here, put a few shots in there, came along, put a few more shots in down there, and then Vicky's now moved them and advanced them onto this objective. So they're currently holding the objective in the backfield here, away from any sort of firepower. They are very well defended there. So I quite like this squad. They've done quite well so far. Right, so without further ado, let's move into turn 4, Psychic and Shooting for the Crimson Fists. Right, turn 4, Psychic and Shooting. So down here, we had Psychic Fortress cast upon the squad in there. We also had a Smite go off down here. So this guy's just got 1 wound. That's all, the only guy left. However, in the shooting phase, there was a mission that the Crimson Fists had. It was essentially to try and knock the Necrons off of this objective here. So Vicky fired Stormbolters. Most of this bolter squad that were in range. The intercessors that are up here, both these predators, and got it down to 1 immortal. 1 immortal! Oh, it was painful to watch. And then unfortunately 4 came back with reanimation. So yeah, I'm sorry Vicky. And that was it for shooting. A couple of shots came in from this tactical squad into the Wraith. Unfortunately, the Wraith's 4-up invulnerable saved it quite a lot there. But that's it. We're going to move on to assault, and let's see if the Crimson Fists have got a bit more of a punch in them now. Right, end of turn 4 assault for the Crimson Fists. So down here, the tactical squad charged into the Wraith there, killing him off quite quickly with the volume of attacks going in. Down here, we then had the Last Destroyer attack the Librarian, taking him down to 2 wounds. Librarian then killed him with his 4 stave, and then they've consolidated into the Destroyer Lord there. So that is that. We're going to move into turn 4 for the Necrons, and let's see what damage the Unliving can do to the Sons of Dawn. Turn 4 movement for the Necrons. Over here, the Immortals have remained stationary on the landing platform there. Down here, the Warriors have now emerged from the ruins, the industrial wreckage, and kind of coming towards the remaining Crimson Fists here. MacLeod obviously is in combat there, moving across the battlefield. Behind the Warriors, you will find yourself an Overlord and a Technomancer, just keeping that squad of Warriors going. Over here, we've got some Mortals slowly working their way to the Bastion over there. Death Marks remain on guard duty up in this building here, just looking down upon the Bastion in case those Stalkers decide to reappear. Also, in case the characters kill off the Scorpic Lord, they have got a bead down there as well. The Royal Warden with the remaining Immortals is now on this bunker here. So currently the Necrons are still holding the lead, and we're just going to hopefully shoot some Crimson Fists to pieces. So let's move into turn 4 shooting. End of turn 4 shooting. Immortals once again put a load of fire down here, only causing 1 wound to the Intercessors holding that building there. The Warriors unloaded a volley of shots into this Predator here, reducing that down to 6 wounds. So hopefully I've bracketed it. But except for that, there's not much shooting I can do because the Crimson Fists are either hiding behind bunkers or engaged in combat at the moment. So it's quite frustrating. I'm going to move into assault now, and potentially it should change the game quite dramatically. We'll see. End of turn 4 assault for the Necrons, and it's been another bloody one. The Warriors charged from the derelict industrial ruins into Librarian, and did nothing to Librarian. It was then down to the Scorpic Lord, who essentially just ripped him in 2, and in return, or just beforehand, Librarian hit back, causing 3 wounds onto him. Lieutenant is now left standing by himself. He must not fall. The Legion must stand. Across the battleground here, the the Canoptic Scarabs charged into the Predator, and did couple of wounds, and then self-destructed for 1 command point, and did 3 wounds in that. So it's going okay for the Necrons. We're going to go into the final turn now for the Crimson Fists. Turn 5 for the Crimson Fists. So this squad here have just kind of sort themselves out, put back into a good position, away from the fire of the Warriors, but hopefully enough to put some firepower up into the Immortals there. Predator just realigned itself after a few turns of being engaged in combat with a Wraith. It's now able to put some volleys of fire in. This Predator here just moved slightly, even though wounded, and got potential threat directly in front of it with a mass squad of Warriors. I believe Vicky's intention is to fire on these as well. And look, just below, look who it is. It's a Crimson Fist Rhino, ready to collect any potential intel away from the Necrons. And finally, across the battlefield, they remain where they are. The Stalkers hiding behind the Bastion there. I can't really complain because exactly what my Immortals are doing over here, a bit of a ceasefire. So that is it. Let's move into turn 5 shooting. It used to be psychic and shooting, however the Librarian's dead. Don't mention it to Vicky, she's a bit sensitive. Let's find out what the Crimson Fists can do. End of turn 5 shooting. So the Crimson Fists had an order. It was to take out the Xeno forces on the landing pad. We had a Predator firing with autocannon heavy bolters. We had tactical squad down here firing everything they could. Intercessors up here also had got a good bead on them, firing away. Predator fired as well. 2 of them died. Awkward. Two of them died. There was a lot of poor shooting. Also, Necrons being up in that defensive building were able to hold out, unfortunately. Down here, Lieutenant fired his pistol into the Destroyer Lord and did nothing. However, like my favourite unit of the Crimson Fist army, once again has done it. These Stalkers are here, fired into the Scarabs, taking both the bases out. They're my favourite unit so far. So let's move into turn 5 assault for the Crimson Fists. So at the end of turn 5 for the Crimson Fists, they charged in here, killing off 1 warrior. Unfortunately, one of their Marines did fall as well. The Scorpic Lord did a couple of wounds, well, did 3 wounds onto the Lieutenant there, and 1 onto these guys. But the Crimson Fists have decided that a tactical retreat is in place. They are pulling back their wounded while this tactical squad hold back the Necron tide. Lieutenant is trying to retrieve the Chapter Master and the Librarian, and they're trying to fall back to another battlefield. So it is a victory for the Necrons. Unfortunately, the Imperium wasn't able to hold them back this time, and the Necrons are now secured this point. This squad up here have been the bane of the Crimson Fists. The amount of firepower put in there, and unfortunately, never quite enough. There's always that 1 or 2 survivors, and then after reanimation, a couple more have come back. It's down to 3 now, and yeah, they've held out a long time. Vicky, do you have a unit of the game?
I do. I think it is my Redemptor Dreadnought.
The Redemptor Dreadnought, the one that...
done really well.
Yeah, held the middle there. Yeah, he did really well. Very, very proud of him. Yeah, for myself, it probably would be this squad up here. They didn't killed a fair few, but unfortunately, you know, they are still there. Maybe they could have killed more. Maybe they couldn't. Who knows? But across the field, Necrons, yeah, are very dominant across here. They're holding objectives. Vicky, wisely, I think, put the Rhino underneath here, put enough firepower in there, and that would have claimed her that objective, as well as the other 2. In fact, it probably would have flipped it the other way around. However, it didn't happen. The dice gods were against her. And yeah, the Necrons held out and held all the objectives, held the 2 objectives throughout the game. So very fun game. Now I've defeated my sister-in-law. I'm a fully fledged member of the family. And yes, good times. So this is Dom from Black Toad Studios. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Take care.